Yesterday evening, news broke that the FBI had boarded a cruise ship to investigate the suspicious passing of a female passenger on board. I'll give you all the updates that we know about this story so far. Plus, after sickening over 200 passengers with a mysterious illness, another government agency has had to involve themselves on board yet another cruise ship. Plus, Norwegian Cruise Line is changing your vacation plans last minute yet again. Let's roll the intro. Hey, welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Welcome into the Central Florida Midships studio. I'm just 2 days away now from my transatlantic cruise. Man, I cannot wait for this one. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for the cruise news. And today, it's going to be a little bit more serious news than we typically have. We've got a lot of topics that are more sensitive, so forgive me for being a little bit less of my lighthearted, joking self. So I guess that means I should probably get my silly sales pitch out of the way right now, so no one can tell me I'm disrespectful later on. If you didn't know, my channel is 100% supported by viewers like you. And what that means is YouTube pays me because you watch my videos. But if you'd like to support me a little bit more and take things a step further, well, I left a cool little Amazon link in the description below this video. It'll take you to my personally curated Cruise Essential store. And literally by just clicking that link, you'll be giving back to this channel and help keep me continuing to deliver on that cruise news. Check it out. There's a link in the description down below. Now let's get into our top story today. The FBI is investigating a suspicious death of a female passenger on board the Carnival Sunshine following the ship's return to the port of Charleston. Now this happened several days ago, and in the meantime, Sunshine brought passengers home to Charleston, disembarked them, brought new sailors back on the ship, and left. And there were really no disruptions according to passengers on board. However, according to news reports, the FBI met the ship when she came into port in South Carolina back on March the 4th, and they did so to actually investigate a crime scene, or an alleged crime scene, I should say. And the scene in question is the actual cabin of the deceased passenger and her husband who survived. And this was not the only time authorities came on board the ship to search regarding this particular suspicious passing. Now, crew members first learned of this unresponsive passenger at some point during the February 27th sailing of the Sunshine. And despite multiple attempts to resuscitate her, she was unfortunately pronounced unalive at the scene. And forgive me because YouTube doesn't like certain words, so I have to sort of self-censor myself here just to keep my platform here on the channel. Now, one of the things the FBI does, if you didn't know, is they actually investigate some crimes that happen at sea, especially if there's a suspicious passing of an American citizen. The FBI does have some jurisdiction to investigate a potential crime, like I said, if it's an American-owned ship, if it's an American citizen. If you check both of those boxes, well, then they're authorized to investigate. But the caveat here is that since the Carnival Sunshine, while it is owned by an American company, it carries a Bahamian flag. So the FBI will have to cooperate with local Bahamian authorities who actually came on board the ship while she was in Nassau a few days ago. And that's when they removed the deceased and her husband from on board the cruise ship and conducted a full investigation, like I said, of the cabin, the alleged crime scene, and everything that goes along with that. Now, according to other passengers on board, they had absolutely no idea that someone had passed away on their cruise under suspicious circumstances, no less, with one passenger saying that she wished there was more transparency throughout the whole incident. She came home and found out that something suspicious went down on board her cruise. Now, at this point, that's all we know. Obviously, an investigation is underway, so until charges are either filed or not, it's unlikely we're going to learn very much, except for maybe some potential eyewitness testimony that could filter out over the next days and weeks. As long as we keep this cruise story forefront of our mind, it's likely that somebody's going to remember seeing or hearing something and want to let us know. So I fully intend to keep talking about this one so nobody forgets what exactly happened on board the Carnival Sunshine. Now, make sure you get subscribed here to the channel if you don't want to miss any updates coming out about this mysterious passing of a cruise passenger aboard the Carnival Sunshine. Now, let's keep the cruise news moving, and we need to talk about hundreds of ill cruisers, people stricken with a mysterious gastrointestinal illness. And when I say that, anyone who's cruised more than a few times probably is already thinking the word norovirus. And in this case, you're most likely right. Let's set the scene here. The Ruby Princess experienced an alarming number of illnesses of the gastrointestinal type during a recent sailing from February 26th through March the 5th. And it was so bad, actually, that the US CDC had to launch an investigation of the ship and take it a step further and actually board the ship to take tests and see how sanitary or unsanitary conditions were on board. And these tests would be taken in a bunch of different areas all around the ship. It could include areas where water and food are stored, where lots of people congregate or touch. So you're talking places like galleys, buffets, restaurants, handrails, elevators, theaters, the water processing facility for the ship. All of these are places on board that the CDC would likely to have tested for norovirus and other gastrointestinal illnesses as a result of this quick spreading illness that went down on the February 26th sailing that burned its way through 200 passengers as well as at least 20 crew members. Now let's keep the cruise news moving, and we need to talk about Norwegian Cruise Line. Just last week, I told you they're doing whatever they can really to cut cost. And the next change we're talking about is to the March 11th sailing, just a few days from now, of the Norwegian Joy. She's going to have one of her port stops taken off of the journey. And it's not going to be a close port stop. No, it's going to be the furthest one, of course. That would be the port of Roatan. The ship was supposed to call there on March 13th. But instead, Norwegian Joy will make port in Bimini, Bahamas, a great port, but not Roatan. If you signed up for Roatan, Bimini is just a short sail away from Nassau there in the Bahamas. And this, of course, is all in the name of being environmentally friendly. At least that's how the PR firms will spin it to you. But this trend of reducing your carbon footprint by taking away port calls brings into question the legitimacy of cruise lines actually changing your itinerary just to save a buck on fuel. It's one thing to change an itinerary because of the weather, because of unexpected damage or problems with the ship, outbreaks of illness, what have you. But a perfectly fine working cruise ship with a healthy crew and an itinerary that's been bought and paid for several years by your paying passengers, changing that last minute just to save some money is entirely different. I don't think it's right to change these things on a whim, even if you're being more environmentally conscious. And it's my personal belief that cruise lines, A, shouldn't be doing this, and B, if they do it, they should be heavily penalized and disincentivized for doing so. Something to dissuade them from doing this to cruisers last minute, because at the end of the day, this kind of bait and switch breaks down to the cruise line taking your money for one thing and then giving you something entirely different than that which you agreed upon. I don't think it's a good business practice, and Norwegian, to their credit, is not the only line that's done this. Carnival has done the same thing to some sailings for the Mardi Gras to San Juan, but Carnival was very transparent, and they said it's to save us money on fuel costs so we don't have to pass it on to our customers. And Carnival did this months in advance instead of days ahead of the cruise departure. Let me know your thoughts on Norwegian's flip-flopping of yet another port to save on fuel costs in the comments down below this video. While you're down there, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to this channel with the thumbs up button pressed if you can't wait to get on board your next cruise. Speaking of your next cruise, it could be along with me on board the Carnival Celebration. I'm hosting a group cruise June 11th out of Miami. It's a 6-nighter down to Mexico, Cozumel, Costa Maya, and Mahogany Bay. If you'd like more information, check out the Facebook link in the description down below this episode. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Until next time, we'll see ya on the Midships. I am not going to be a last-minute packer this time. I'm heading downstairs right now. I'm doing my laundry today, 24 hours in advance of my departure for my transatlantic cruise on Symphony of the Seas. Can't wait to take you along with. They actually added the port of Valencia about a month ago to this itinerary. So I've got an extra stop, going to be spending a few days over in Europe after the cruise, obviously. So if you have any recommendations of places to stay, things to eat or do in Barcelona or over in London, well, why don't you let me know about them down in the comments or send me a message on my Instagram at Midships Cruise. Thanks so much. We will see you tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more packed than I am right now. See ya.